I'm John Michael Thomas. I'm currently one of our product managers at dotCMS. I've been with dotCMS quite a while, for over 8 years. I've held roles from documentation to running support, VP of operations for a while, for support, professional services, and our delivery team. So I've been in R&D, I've been in operations, I've been in support, and I understand that I'm considered one of the top product experts in the company. We're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence, or, as a geek, I tend to call it more machine learning, because, there's a lot of discussion about whether AI is really intelligent. And I tend to fall in the camp to say that it's not. But in any case, most of the technologies that people are familiar with now, from the large language models like ChatGPT and Google Bard, to other more specific tools, they're really machine learning. It's important to me for a couple of reasons. One is because, for us as a business in dotCMS, we need to, take advantage of the tools that are out there, and machine learning has, particularly it's come to people's attention a lot in the past year, since sort of the beginning of 2023. It's actually been building for a long time. The capability has been building. And the tools have gotten to the point where they're really, they have some real value that they can add to the content management space. And so my role in dealing with AI at dotCMS is I'm in charge of helping us map out the AI roadmap for how we're going to integrate AI into dotCMS, and also for actually driving the development of that. AI, when we talk about artificial intelligence, the ultimate goal is to have computers, machines, do things that historically only humans have been able to do. And I will avoid the discussions about whether that will, cause people to lose their jobs, although I will come back to that a little bit later, probably, because I don't think it will. I think it will change our jobs. But it's really using software and using data to allow a computer to do things that normally, that it used to be only humans could do. So for example, for a very long time, if you had tried to have a computer write new content for you, it would not work, right? It would do a lousy job. You needed a human for that. We've now gotten to the point where there are machine learning tools that can generate some fairly useful content, or at least a start for some good content, that basically it takes some of the drudgery away. Really, where we've had, as a society, we've industrialized machines, right? We've had robots for quite a while, and having robots has enabled people to do less drudgery work with their hands, and now they focus more on the design, more on dealing with problems, the things that really take a lot of intelligence. What AI does is takes that automation that we've done with the actual physical machines, and starts moving that automation into the realm of intellectual tasks, generating content, doing analysis, that sort of thing. And so similar to what it did with industrial automation, AI automation is going to change it so that instead of us having to do drudgery like writing boring copy, it allows us to automate some of that more tedious parts of that, or the more repetitive parts. And then we can come in and use our human capabilities, which AI can't even come close to yet, to actually make things better than, to do the unique things that we need to do to be able to align what comes out of it really specifically with the tasks we're trying to perform, and to be more creative. I'm not sure most people need to pay a lot of attention to it. The reality is it's going to be integrated, things are going to be automated, and people are going to start seeing the benefits of it whether they pay any attention or not. Now, the flip side of that is, if for anyone who is in a job or profession that involves any kind of intellectual work, you do need to pay attention to what's happening with AI within your particular space, because it is going to start taking some of the things that you used to do manually, and it's going to start automating them. And what that means is, let's talk about content creators. So within the content management space, there's a lot of people out there that write marketing copy. Well, let's be honest, a lot of marketing copy isn't very original. And if you are in a job where you're writing things that aren't very original, you're vulnerable to automation replacing that, in this case, AI automation. So, whoever you are, whatever space you're in, but particularly in the content management space, the things that we can do to make sure that AI is not going to be able to take the job of someone who's doing creative work. Again, AI is derivative. So, whatever field you're in, it's really helpful to start looking at which parts of that are repetitive and, start focusing on the skills that are non-repetitive, the things that really take creative work. If you're an entrepreneur, you could start looking at the parts that are repetitive and start thinking about how you can actually use AI to um, to get rid of some of that repetitiveness and actually maybe come up with your own product. But bottom line, let's say as content creators, you know, it's going to allow us to focus more on the more creative parts. And so, if you are doing repetitive work and that's your job, start training yourself to do things that are less repetitive. They're probably a lot more interesting anyways, and that will make it so, you'll be able to bring your skill set to a point where, look, machine learning is not going to be able to replace that creative part. So that's what I would say is overall, focus on the parts of the work you do that are more creative. And if you're not in that kind of a space, then don't worry about it, because you're going to start seeing the benefits of AI, whether you like it or not, and whether that AI is even involved. I would say, incorporating AI into the content management industry is at a very early stage. Obviously, it's very common right now. There's a lot of people that are using some of the large language model tools like ChatGPT or Google Bard to generate content. There are people using, I would say even more so, people are using the AI image generators to be able to create new art or create new images, particularly from a corporate perspective. But also there's a lot of artists that have actually been into this space and using AI to generate art and tweaking that from the perspective of somebody who's actually being very creative with it, not just derivative. And to get into how this affects the content management space, let me talk a little bit more about the nature of AI, in that one of the things to understand about AI is, or when you talk about machine learning, it is learning, right? It is generating something from what it learned. And that means that it has to start with something. And the way these models work is they take a huge amount of data. They take a bunch of content that already exists, that humans already created, whether that's images or whether it's text or whether it's videos, and they learn how those different things were created. And then from that, they can generate something. But what that means is all machine learning is derivative. It cannot create anything brand new. Everything that it generates is based on something a human already generated in the past. And so that's really where, when people talk about artificial intelligence, it's not really intelligent. It doesn't reason. It doesn't create new things from scratch. It just repeats what's been done before, and it does it based on probabilities or, whatever the algorithm is. And so in the content management space, it's important to understand that limitation of AI, because it means that if you need to generate some generic marketing copy that's just like everybody else's marketing copy, then AI is going to do a pretty good job for that, right? You're going to be able to go to one of these models and generate something that, that does a fairly decent job. However, understand that is going to be derivative. It's going to be just like everybody else. If you want to stand out, if you want your website content to stand out, you're going to have to go beyond just the machine learning. So what machine learning is going to be able to allow us to do within the content management space is to, again, take away some of the tedious work. It'll give us a base. You could say, hey, I want a skeleton for this, but then you can come in as a human who's more creative, and you can say, well, this does look just like what everybody else says about this. What do we want to say that's different? How do we want to make this unique for our content? Or, this is good generic, but I know, based on my marketing or my customer research, I know my customers care about some specific things. So I want to highlight some of this. So from a content management space, there's a number of different areas that machine learning can help. One of those that everybody's familiar with now is generative. That means it can actually generate new content, new text, new images, new videos, or even just, it may be even more helpful to generate the outlines, right? What different types of subheadings might we want for an article on, that's talking about AI? and you can get AI to generate those subheadings for you. You can get it to generate some copy, but it might make more sense to generate the headings and then you to write the copy based on those and select which subheadings you want. Another area that AI is really going to be useful for in content management space is to analyze content. There are some very repetitive tasks that we have to do as content creators, such as, you've written a blog and now you need to create an SEO description for that. This is a summary of the blog that's going to be displayed by many of the search engines when someone returns the results from your blog. And so that's a fairly repetitive operation, and that's something that AI can very easily step in and take away that repetitiveness. Now we don't have to worry about that. You don't need somebody with 10 years of content creation experience to create an SEO description. You just don't need it. That's something, it's a small task, it's repetitive, it's a little bit tedious. That's something where AI can really help. And there are other areas where where AI can help us with analyzing content. So for example, one of the things that we are looking at in dotCMS is, we have different ways to, what we call taxonomies. There's ways to organize and label your content. We have tags, we have categories. Well, right now, if you want to tag or categorize your content, you've got to have at least some understanding of it. And you've got to, with the tag, for example, you've got to start typing. And after you've typed a few characters, then we'll start auto-completing it for you. But why not have an AI look at your content and automatically suggest tags for you? Why not have it suggest categories for you? So that's another analytic area. There's a number of others that we've identified. I'm not going to go through all of them just because of time, but what I will say is, what I would say is going to be the holy grail for not just content management, but for all applications that are integrating machine learning and AI is ultimately it comes down to how well you can integrate AI into your specific application and the specific features you already offer, right? Remember, AI is derivative. AI is not going to create a new feature for your product. It's just not going to do that. It can help you once you've decided you want to add a feature, to deal with some specific pieces. But what we in dotCMS and what other people in the content management space, what I expect to see is you're going to start seeing AI integrated into the features that people have to make those features easier to use. Because, I mean, ultimately, this is automation, right? It's automation of intellectual work, but it's automation. And that means the goal of automation is not to replace our jobs. It can't. The goal of automation is to take the parts that are repetitive, the parts that I wouldn't call them time wasters, but they're repetitive. They don't take a lot of intellectual capacity. It's to be able to automate those away so we as humans can now focus on the stuff that really takes our creativity, that really requires us to use our brains and our skills and our experience. And that's what we're going to see in the content management space. So initially, what we're likely to see is that people are going to call out, hey, we're using AI here and we're using AI here. And that's because it's become kind of a buzzword. But what I expect we're going to see, and what we are actually targeting in dotCMS, is to be able to start integrating AI in ways that it's kind of sort of hidden. It's under the covers. And actually, people are very familiar with this. Many people don't realize it. But if you look at, there's a lot of Apple products, for example. If you look at iOS, you look at Siri, you look at some of the other tools, they actually have been integrating AI into their products for a long time. But they don't come out and say, hey, we're using AI here. What they do is they use AI to make a feature that they already have easier for people to use. It makes it easier, it makes it faster. And that's what I expect to see in the content management space. That is certainly what we're focusing on in dotCMS is we're going to have some features to generate content, but we're also going to start taking some of our existing features like workflows, like taxonomies, and just make them easier to use. Make it so that you have less manual work to do and more of it, you get suggestions, and we don't necessarily even have to tell you it's from an AI. You're just, hey, you're going to get suggestions. So that's what I expect to see, more integration. The AI will go from being right now where it's very open. Everybody's saying, hey, we've got AI. Everybody wants to know. They want you to know that they're using AI. That's eventually going to fade, and you're going to start seeing the automation happening where we've got a feature, and hey, it used to take you 15 minutes to set this thing up, and now we just added a feature, and you can do this really easily in 3 minutes because we've now got it doing a lot of the manual steps are replaced for you with some automation. We what we're doing right now is we're creating a foundation because we understand that AI is bigger than just adding a few tack-on features, right? We don't want to just tack on some features. We don't want toys. We want tools. And so we are almost completed. We're building a foundation which will allow us to integrate AI more fully into all of our product, not just a portions of it. But also the other thing that I see, at least in terms of where AI is going to go and that we are building towards, is right now, if you want to use AI, it's out there, but it's generic, right? It's built on the content, let's say, from the entire web. And the other kind of trend, which I didn't talk about, but which I will because we're building towards it, is what really people are going to need to do is people need to start, they're going to want to use AI based on their own content, right? It's fine to go to ChatGPT and get a generic answer, but that is going to be generic. If you go and you ask ChatGPT to give you a step-by-step instructions on how to use your specific product, you will get an answer. However, the answer is almost certain to be wrong because the answer it's giving you is not based on your product. It doesn't understand your product. It just understands what step-by-step instructions are for every product on the entire web. So what people need to do is they need to start taking this powerful AI and they need to start making it understand their specific content, their specific product, their specific documentation, their specific, the specific information that they have. And so the other main area that we are looking at in dotCMS is to make it easy for our customers to take their own content. They've already got their content in dotCMS. They're going to want to use AI to generate responses from their own content. They're going to want to generate responses that understand their own documentation and their own products. And so part of our foundation in dotCMS that we're building is to make it easy for customers to do that. So essentially, instead of necessarily creating a separate AI tool or taking all your content and going to a separate tool to be able to generate AI, we want you to be able to come into dotCMS. You've already got your content there, and boom, now let's make some tools available so you can generate, you can analyze that content and use it without having to bolt together a bunch of different tools.